Reborn, I returned to the day my boyfriend smashed my face, then I destroyed him with evidence. The school beauty didn't get first place and cried so hard tears streamed down her face. My boyfriend picked up a basketball and hurled it hard straight at my face in front of the entire class. Who told you to steal her first place? I covered my face. Blood streaming down between my fingers. Yet there was a ding in my mind. Congratulations, host. Your endurance value is now full, reward being issued. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and smiled. Thanks for that shot, backhanded from both sides, slapping each of them once. The whole class fell into a deathly silence, and the scumbag and the campus belle were completely stunned. The report cards were handed out. Sophia Vance's eyes turned red. She lay on the desk, her shoulders shaking. Several girls around her gathered over and comforted her in low voices. Sophia, don't cry, it was only 3 points, yeah, second place is already very impressive. It's all that Chloe Taylor's fault. She never says a word in normal times, but she really knows how to push ahead in exams. I stuffed my report card into my backpack without expression. First place, Chloe Taylor. Second place, Sophia Vance. My boyfriend Jack Davies came back from the basketball court, drenched in sweat. He saw Sophia crying and stopped in his tracks. A boy handed him a bottle of water and nodded toward me. Your girlfriend, got first place again this time and pushed Sophia out of it. Jack's hand as he twisted open the bottle cap, froze. He turned his head, his gaze passing through the crowd and landing on my face. There was no congratulations in that look, only a cold interrogation. He strode over and stopped in front of my desk. Did you come first? Yes, I looked up at him. Why didn't you let her win? His voice was low, burning with anger. I looked at him and found the question absurd. Why should I let her pass the exam? She stayed up for who knows how many nights for this final, and her health is practically falling apart. Can't you let her have it? This once, the reproach in his tone made it sound as if I had committed some heinous crime. Sophia cried even more heartbreakingly over there. Her friend's voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough to carry over. Sophia is just too kind. She even lent her notes to Chloe before and ended up raising an ungrateful wretch. The surrounding gazes stabbed over like needles. I clenched the straps of my school bag. Borrow notes. When had I ever borrowed her notes? It was clearly she who had begged me to help her highlight the key points and explain the difficult problems. Shh. Jack's face looked even worse. His chest rose and fell as he stared at me as if looking at a cold-blooded monster. Chloe, go apologize to her. I did nothing wrong. You're not wrong. You made her cry, and that's not wrong. He snatched up a basketball from the table beside him. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going or not? The classroom was very quiet. Everyone is looking at us. Even the teacher on the platform stopped what they were doing and looked over with a frown. Sophia lifted her head, her eyes blurred with tears. Jack, don't. It has nothing to do with her. I just didn't do well on the exam myself. Her words were like a ladle of oil poured onto the fire in Jack's heart. The fury in his eyes erupted completely. Who told you to snatch her first place? A furious roar. The basketball slipped from his hand. Carrying the sound of the wind as it flew toward my face, I instinctively wanted to dodge, but it was too close. Bang! A dull thud. My head was slammed backward by a tremendous force, crashing hard against the wall behind me. The world instantly hummed. A warm stream gushed from my nose. I covered my face, blood seeping through the gaps between my fingers and dripping onto my white school uniform, blooming into red flowers one by one. I couldn't hear anything in my ears, only a sharp buzzing. My vision was blurry and the lights on the ceiling were swaying. Jack's face, Sophia's face, the faces of my classmates, all twisted into strange shapes. At that moment, in my mind, a cold mechanical voice sounded. Ding. Detected that the host has suffered an extremely unfair dual blow, both physical and mental. Tolerance threshold exceeded 100%. Absolute rationality. System officially activated. Reward issued. Emotion stripping, thinking speed increased by 500%. Crisis Management Ability Max Newbie Mission. Handle the current crisis. In an instant, the ringing in his ears vanished. The dizziness before his eyes also faded. The world became clear again. The excruciating pain of a fractured nasal bridge. The dull ache from the back of my head striking the wall. All of it turned into a string of analyzable data. No longer affecting my thinking. I slowly lowered my hand. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth. Laughed. I met Jack Davies' face twisted with anger. Thank you for that shot. He froze. The whole class was stunned. Sophia's crying also. Caught in her throat before they could react. I moved. Left hand smack. A crisp slap landed hard on Sophia's face. She was stunned on the spot and 5 finger marks quickly surfaced on her fair cheek. Right hand smack. A louder slap landed on Jack's face. His head was knocked to the side and his face wore the same expression of disbelief as mine. The entire classroom fell into dead silence. You could hear a pin drop. I withdrew my hand and looked at the two of them, completely stunned. Now we're even. My voice was very calm, as if the one who had just experienced violence, and the one who had carried it out were not me at all, as if this were merely the opening act of a farce that had nothing to do with me. The silence lasted for about 10 seconds. The form tutor on the podium was the first to react. His surname was Mr. Smith, and he was a man in his 50s. Mr. Smith slapped the desk. His finger trembling as he pointed at me. Chloe Taylor, what? What are you doing? You're completely out of control. Jack also came back to his senses. He touched his burning face, his eyes instantly turning bloodshot. You dare to hit me? He roared like an enraged beast, raising his hand as he was about to lunge at me. I didn't move. I simply lifted my eyes and looked calmly at the little red light in the corner of the wall behind him. There are security cameras in the classroom. My voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough. Jack's raised hand froze in midair. My words pulled him back to his senses. If he hit someone, especially under surveillance, a disciplinary notice would be unavoidable. Sophia covered her face and finally burst into tears, this time with genuine grievance and fear in her sobs. Teacher, she hit me. A few girls hurriedly held her up and glared at me angrily. Chloe, are you crazy? Sophia was so kind as to help you and you hit her. Apologize to Sophia and Jack right away. I ignored those noisy voices. My brain, boosted by the absolute rationality system, was spinning at high speed. Crisis assessment. Current situation. The enemy outnumbers us. Core conflict. Jack's violent behavior and my act of retaliation. Key evidence. No. 1. Jack smashing my basketball. No. 2. My act of slapping them. Best strategy. Avoid verbal entanglement. Leave the scene immediately. Preserve the evidence and follow the official process. I bent down, picked up the backpack that had fallen to the ground, and slung it over my shoulder. Apologize. I looked at Jack, my eyes showing no anger, only the kind of scrutiny one would reserve for an object. You hit me with a basketball, causing what may be a fractured nose bridge and a mild concussion. I slapped you once by the principle of equivalent harm. You still owe me a lot. I looked at Sophia again. As for you, you spread rumors that I borrowed your notes and defamed me, damaging my reputation. This slap is the price of slander. My words were clear and logically structured, like I was reading out a legal document. Sophia's sobbing came to a sudden halt and her eyes darted away. I didn't. I just what? I stepped closer. Just took the key points I marked for you and claimed they were notes you lent me. Just took the problems I explained to you and treated them as a favor you did for me. Sophia, do you want to pull up our WhatsApp chat records from 2 months ago? Sophia's face instantly turned pale. Jack stepped in front of her and roared at me. Shut up. You're not allowed to talk about Sophia like that, feeling guilty. I looked at him. Are you stupid? Or do you simply not care about the truth? You trembled with anger. But because of my calmness and the presence of the surveillance cameras, he didn't dare to make another move. Mr. Smith stormed down from the podium in a fury. Chloe Taylor, come to my office with me. And you, Jack Davies, Sophia Vance, come with me, too. Instruction analysis. Entering the office will trigger a second round of verbal conflict. The other side has a form tutor. As authoritative support, Sophia is playing the perfect victim, and Jack is acting as her protector. We are at a disadvantage. Plan revised. Refuse to enter an enclosed space and make the incident public. I didn't move, Mr. Smith. I need to go to the hospital for an injury examination now. I pointed to my nose, which was still bleeding according to school regulations. If a student suffers a personal injury during school hours, they should seek medical attention immediately and keep all medical records. As the form tutor, you should know this better than I do. Mr. Smith was left speechless by my words, looking at my face covered in blood. He couldn't find any reason to refute me for the moment. What kind of attitude is that? I'm just stating the facts. I took out my phone. If you don't agree, I'll call the head of year right now and have him handle it. How dare you? Go ahead and see if I dare. In front of him, I started looking for the head of year's phone number in my contacts. The whole class stared in shock. Was this really the Chloe Taylor who was usually quiet and introverted and never caused any trouble? It seemed like she had become a different person. Calm, sharp, with an oppressive presence that made people afraid to look straight at him. Mr. Smith's face turned blue and then white. He knew that if the matter was brought to the senior leadership team, he would never be able to shake off the label of poor management. Jack also grew anxious. Although his family had some money, what they feared most was leaving a blemish on his record at school. Chloe, do you really have to make this a big deal? Make it a big deal. I put away my phone and found it funny. The moment you hit me in the face with that basketball, you'd already made it a big deal, Jack. From that moment on, our relationship was no longer something that could be settled privately. I no longer looked at them. I walked to the door and glanced back. Jack was furious and unwilling to accept it. Sophia felt aggrieved and frightened. Mr. Smith felt frustrated and helpless. And the whole class, those complex, probing and gloating looks, data record, everyone's expressions and reactions have been archived. Emotional analysis, anger 50%, fear 30%, confusion 20%, all of these will become part of my plan. I pulled open the door and stepped out. In the classroom behind her, there was deathly silence and then a sudden uproar. Oh my God. She really left. Jack, are you okay? Teacher, what should we do? I didn't look back. The wind in the hallway brushed against my face. A little cold. The blood in my nose was still slowly flowing. But in my heart everything was perfectly clear. Jack Davies, Sophia Vance, this was only the beginning. Everything you have inflicted on me, I will make you repay tenfold, hundredfold, in the most rational way. I didn't go straight to the campus medical room. The school clinic's diagnosis is easily interfered with by forces within the school. I walked out of the campus gate and took a taxi to the city's largest A&E at the NHS Trust Hospital. I registered, got an X-ray, had the wound debrided, and picked up the diagnosis report. I handled the whole process in an orderly manner. Diagnosis: minor fracture of the nasal bridge, facial soft tissue contusion, mild concussion. Medical advice: rest for 1 week, avoid strenuous exercise, and return for regular follow-up visits. I collected all the receipts, invoices, and diagnostic certificates, photographed them with my phone, and uploaded them to the cloud as a backup. After doing all this, I sat on the hospital's cold bench and began to think about the next step. My phone kept vibrating. It was a call from Jack and from my mom as well. I hung up Jack's call first and answered my mom's. Chloe, Mr. Smith called and said, you got into a fight at school, and even injured a classmate. How are you? Are you hurt? My mom sounded very anxious. She is a typical traditional woman. Kind, timid, and most afraid of causing trouble. Mom, I'm fine. How could it be nothing? The teacher said you beat up Jack and a girl from his class. Chloe, what exactly happened to you? Tell Mom the truth quickly. He hit first. I stated calmly. He hit my face with a basketball. I'm in the hospital now. And the doctor said the bridge of my nose is fractured. There was silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, my mom's voice thick with tears came through. A fracture? Is it serious? Then why did you have to hit back? He's your boyfriend. Why couldn't you just let him have his way a little? Now look what happened. You're injured and they're hurt, too. What are we supposed to do now? Analysis of relatives' reactions. Inclined to keep the peace. Unable to provide effective support, my heart sank a little. But I wasn't surprised. This is my family. Mom, don't get involved in this. I'll handle it myself. How can I not care? The school asked a parent to come over. Your dad is away on a business trip, so I have to go. Chloe, listen to Mom. Go there and properly apologize to the teacher and your classmates, and let's just put this matter behind us. Okay, apologize. I repeated the 2 words. Of course, you're a girl and hitting people is always wrong. Our family is ordinary and we can't afford to offend Jack's family. Be good. Okay, I took a deep breath. Then slowly let it out. Mom, if you go to the school, there's only one thing you can do. What is it? Take my injury report to the head teacher's office, to the board of governors, and demand that the school expel him, and make him compensate me for all my medical expenses and emotional distress. You're crazy, my mother screamed. I'm not crazy. My voice was as cold as ice. If you can't do it, or if you want to go and make me apologize, then don't go. Going there will only make things worse. With that, I hung up the phone directly. I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. Emotional connection assessment. Family support is negative. Action plan adjustment. Initiate plan B and introduce external support. I opened my eyes and searched through my contacts. Jack called again and I casually blocked the number. Then I found a phone number. The note said, Aunt Eleanor. She was a solicitor at a fairly well-known regional law firm and also a distant relative of my dad. I wasn't very familiar with her. I had only met her a few times during Christmas. My impression of her is that she is shrewd, competent, and puts profit first in everything right now. This is exactly the kind of person I need. The call connected. Hello, who is this? Aunt Eleanor's voice carried the polite courtesy of someone used to handling business. Aunt Eleanor, I'm Chloe Taylor. My uncle is Jonathan Taylor. Oh, Chloe, I remember now. What's the matter? I'd like to ask you to help me with a lawsuit. There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, followed by a soft chuckle. What kind of lawsuit is a young girl getting into personal injury? I briefly and concisely recounted what had happened, leaving out the existence of the system. School bullying. Aunt Eleanor's tone immediately turned professional. Do you have evidence? Yes. Classroom surveillance, testimony from the whole class, plus a forensic injury report from a top-tier hospital and all the medical records. What about the other family's background? His name is Jack Davies. His father runs a private firm. I'm not sure about the exact scale, but he should have some influence locally. Interesting. Aunt Eleanor's interest was piqued. Lawyers' fees aren't cheap. Can you, as a student, afford them? I can't afford them, I admitted. But I can sign a conditional fee agreement with you. All the compensation you help me secure. We'll split by percentage. I want 50% and you take 50%. There was silence on the other end of the line under a no-win no-fee arrangement. A solicitor taking 50% is far above the market rate. High risk also means high return. How much compensation do you want? Medical expenses, lost amenities, private treatment fees, and compensation for emotional distress. My preliminary estimate is that altogether it's at least £200,000. £200,000. Aunt Eleanor smiled. You're asking for quite a lot, young lady. In school disputes, a few tens of thousands at most is usually already the ceiling. That's the usual case. My voice remained completely steady. But this time is different. How is it different? Because I'll make it different. I paused and said each word clearly. Aunt Eleanor, I don't just want money. I want him Jack Davies expelled from school. I want a stain left in his record that he can never wash away for the rest of his life. I also want that girl named Sophia Vance to apologize to me publicly and admit that she slandered me. We will win this case and we'll win it beautifully. Will you take it? There was certainty in my words that powerful confidence traveled through the signal to the other end, and she was silent for a long time. So long that I thought she was going to hang up. Then she spoke. Okay, I'll take it. Her voice carried excitement. Send me your information. See you at the law firm in half an hour. After hanging up, I stood up and walked toward the sunlight at the hospital entrance. Jack Davies, Sophia Vance, Mr. Smith, and my weak mother. Do you think this is just a simple campus conflict? No. From the moment the basketball hit my face, this became a war. A war I will absolutely not lose. My plan has only just begun. The first step, the legal weapon, is already in place. Aunt Eleanor's law firm is in the most upscale office building in the city center, floor-to-ceiling windows, leather sofas, and the air is filled with the mixed scent of coffee and paper. She looked through all the materials I had brought, and her eyes grew brighter and brighter. Chloe Taylor, you really are a genius. She pointed at the various expressions of the classmates in the classroom after the incident, which I had captured with my phone. These are all excellent supporting evidence and can be used to corroborate the mental state of everyone present at the time. You were born to do this. I didn't speak. This isn't talent. The best way to win sympathy is to prove that the other party feels no remorse while our side is isolated and without support. We quickly finalized all the details and signed the conditional fee agreement. Aunt Eleanor began drafting a formal legal letter, preparing to send it separately to Jack's family, Sophia's family, and the school. Just then, an unfamiliar number called in. I answered and turned on speakerphone. Chloe Taylor. It was Jack's voice, suppressing his anger. Where are you? Get back here right now. My parents have already arrived at the school. How long do you still plan to hide? Aunt Eleanor gestured to me, signaling me to continue. I'm not at school. I don't care where you are right now. Go tell Mr. Smith that you started it first and that you were in the wrong. Then apologize to Sophia. I can consider asking my dad to compensate you a little for your medical expenses. His tone was matter of fact, as if he were condescendingly doing me a favor. Apologize, I asked. What else? What do you want? Don't push your luck and turn down a face-saving offer. Do you really have to make this ugly for everyone, Jack? I interrupted him, my voice calm and steady. I'm calling to inform you of one thing. He froze for a moment. What is it? From now on, we're broken up. There was a deathly silence on the other end of the phone. After a while, he seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. Break up? You're bringing up a breakup with me. Chloe, get this straight. I'm the one dumping you. A venomous woman like you. Who would ever want you? Okay, you're dumping me, fine. I didn't care at all about this kind of verbal spat. The reason for the breakup is that you assaulted me without cause, resulting in personal injury. From both a legal and moral standpoint, our relationship has come to an end, for all subsequent communications. Please contact my solicitor, Miss Eleanor Taylor. I looked at Aunt Eleanor and she smiled at me and nodded. Solicitor? Jack's voice rose full of disbelief. You hired a lawyer for this petty crap. Are you crazy? This isn't petty crap. It's a criminal assault case. I corrected him. According to the Offenses Against the Person Act, anyone who intentionally causes actual bodily harm to another person shall be liable to prosecution and imprisonment. Your actions have already met the threshold for a police investigation. On the other end of the phone, rough, heavy breathing came through. I could imagine the furious, disbelieving expression on his face at that moment. Emotion analysis. The other party has fallen into rage and confusion and information. A symmetry advantage has been established. Jack, the moment the basketball hit my face, you should have known this day would come. My solicitor's letter will be delivered to your father's company tomorrow. Good luck. After saying that, I hung up the phone directly. The whole world fell silent. Aunt Eleanor looked at me, her eyes full of admiration. Well done. We recorded this call. He personally admitted that he told you to get back here. And he even suggested settling it privately with a little medical expense, all of which is evidence of his guilty conscience. She stood up and patted me on the shoulder. Don't worry, leave the rest to me. By the time I walked out of the law firm, it was already dark. The call from the head of the school's administrative office came through his tone carrying official authority. Is this Chloe Taylor? I'm Mr. Jenkins from the school administration regarding this afternoon's conflict between you and classmates. Jack Davies and Sophia Vance. The school takes this very seriously. Please come to the school conference room tomorrow morning at 9:00 a.m. with your parent. We'll resolve the matter together with Jack's parents. My parents aren't free. I was telling the truth. My mom wouldn't come and my dad was out of town. Then do it yourself. This is a notice from the school and it must be obeyed. Mr. Jenkins' tone turned stern. Okay, sir. I agreed without hesitation. I'll be there on time at 9 tomorrow morning. However, I won't be alone. My solicitor, Miss Eleanor Taylor, will attend with me. On the other end of the line, Mr. Jenkins' breathing suddenly caught. I could feel his headache. Things had already started moving in a direction he could no longer control. At 9 the next morning, I arrived at school conference room No. 3 on time with Aunt Eleanor. A long conference table with several groups of people seated clearly divided. On one side were the head teacher, Mr. Jenkins, and form tutor Mr. Smith representing the school, each wearing a stern expression. On the other side were Jack Davies and his parents. His father, Richard Davies, a man in his 50s wearing gold-rimmed glasses, had in his eyes the shrewdness and arrogance of a corporate executive. His mother, meanwhile, was dressed like a high society lady, holding a designer handkerchief and dabbing at non-existent tears from time to time. She looked at her son with heartache. Jack sat between them, faint traces of finger marks still left on his face, glaring at me with venom in his eyes. Sophia and her mother sat in the corner, their posture delicate and frail, like two little white flowers swaying in the wind. As soon as I appeared, all eyes focused on me. I had no makeup on. The bruise on my temple and the medical tape on the bridge of my nose were clearly visible, standing in stark contrast to my calm expression. Classmate Chloe Taylor. And this is the head teacher pushed up his glasses and looked at Aunt Eleanor beside me. Aunt Eleanor took a business card out of her briefcase and handed it over. Hello, Headmaster Gao. I am Chloe Taylor's legal representative, Eleanor Taylor. From now on, I will be fully responsible for communicating with the school and the party at fault regarding the physical injury Chloe Taylor suffered on campus. Her words were like a stone thrown into a calm lake. Richard Davies' brows immediately furrowed. Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Smith looked even more grim. They clearly hadn't expected that I, an ordinary student from an average family, would actually bring in a high-profile solicitor. A solicitor? Richard Davies sneered, leaning back against the chair. Little girl, are you trying to extort money? Aunt Eleanor smiled, sat down across from me, and opened her laptop. Mr. Davies, please watch your words. My client, Miss Chloe Taylor, was subjected to your son, Jack Davies' violent actions, which caused a fractured nasal bridge and a mild concussion. We are not extorting money. We are protecting legitimate rights and interests. Or are you saying that in your view beating someone into the hospital is a trivial matter that requires no responsibility? Richard Davies was left speechless, his face flushing red. Jack's mother, who was standing next to him, immediately screamed, "You're talking nonsense. How could my Jack hit anyone?" It was clearly she who seduced Jack first. She was jealous of Sophia again. So she deliberately stirred up trouble. She even slapped Jack in the face. Look, his face is still swollen. Sophia's mother also chimed in. Yes, Sophia was also hit by her. The child was frightened and didn't sleep well all night last night. Sophia lowered her head at just the right moment, her shoulders trembling slightly as she began to sob softly. In an instant, the meeting room was filled with accusations against me. The head teacher cleared his throat and began to smooth things over. All right. Say a little less. We invited everyone here today to solve the problem, not to start an argument. Jack was wrong to make the first move. But Chloe also hit back. I think this is just a small friction between young people, an impulsive act in the heat of the moment. He looked at Richard Davies. Mr. Davies, what do you think? How about having Jack apologize to Chloe? Our school and your side will share the medical expenses. Then Chloe, you should also apologize to classmate Sophia Vance. After all, hitting someone is wrong. Let's just let this matter end here and not let it affect the children's studies. Okay, this whole line of talk perfectly embodied what it means to smooth things over. Richard Davies was very satisfied with this plan. He nodded. I think that works, but let's skip the apology. My Jack is precious and has never apologized to anyone. I'll pay the money, £100,000. Is that enough? He looked at me as if dismissing a beggar. Everyone looked at me, waiting for me to nod. In their eyes, a poor student faced with £100,000 and the head teacher's pressure had no choice but to accept. I finally spoke up. Not enough. My voice was very soft. Yet it instantly silenced the entire conference room. Richard Davies' smile froze on his face. I looked up, my gaze sweeping over everyone present. My demands were conveyed to you yesterday through my solicitor. First, expel Jack Davies and record this campus violence incident in his permanent academic file. Second, Sophia Vance must publicly read an apology letter in front of all the school's teachers and students admitting to her defamation of my reputation. Third, compensation. This includes medical expenses, private rehabilitation fees, follow-up treatment costs, and emotional distress damages for a total of £300,000. Any one of the above three terms is indispensable. Otherwise, we'll see each other in the high court. As soon as I finished speaking, the whole room was stunned. You're crazy. Jack was the first to jump to his feet. 300,000 and you want to expel me too, dream on. Richard Davies' expression darkened completely. He slammed his hand on the table and pointed at me, you little brat. I've been giving you face, haven't I? Don't think hiring a lawyer means you can scare me. I'm telling you, I, Richard Davies, have never been afraid of anyone in this city. You want to report my son? I'll make sure you can't even keep going to school. Believe it or not, a blatant threat. The head teacher and Mr. Jenkins both changed expression, wanting to intervene but not daring to. Aunt Eleanor, however, smiled. She pressed the stop button on her phone's recording, then played back what Richard Davies had just said. I can make it so you can't even go to school. Believe it or not, the clear recording echoed through the conference room. Richard Davies' expression changed from anger to stunned disbelief, then to panic. Mr. Davies, your remarks just now have already constituted witness intimidation and a legal threat. This recording will become new evidence for us in court. Aunt Eleanor put away her phone and stood up. It seems today's mediation can't continue. Headmaster, Mr. Jenkins, my client has been explicitly threatened today for the sake of her personal safety. We will leave now. For any further communication, please contact my office directly. After saying that, she took me with her and walked toward the door under the stunned gazes of the crowd. When we reached the door, I stopped and looked back. Richard Davies was trembling all over with anger. Jack's eyes were filled with unwillingness. On Sophia's face, there was not only fragility, but also panic. Knew they wouldn't let this go. Their retaliation would come soon, and that was precisely part of my plan, just as I expected. That afternoon, the school's online student forum and a well-known local community forum were flooded with posts. The headlines were each more sensational than the last. Shocking. A top academic female student at the academy turns on her boyfriend for money, violently assaulting him and an innocent female classmate. Poverty is not a sin, but greed is, uncovering the schemes and violence behind the top rank. I'll say something fair about those things in year 12. 1. The content of the posts is more or less the same. All portraying me as a sinister, jealous, vicious woman who would stop at nothing for money. They say that because Sophia comes from a well-off family and is popular, I targeted her everywhere. They say that because Jack said a word for Sophia, I flew into a jealous rage and struck first. The post also came with pictures. One was a photo of Sophia covering her face, eyes brimming with tears, her cheeks swollen and red, looking pitifully helpless. Another was a photo of Jack with finger marks on his face, frowning in restraint, making him look very innocent. As for my injuries, they were brushed off as merely a minor superficial scratch. The posters were all anonymous accounts, but their tone made them sound like classmates, and their stories seemed detailed and convincing. In an instant, public opinion was completely detonated. Students and internet users, unaware of the truth, began to heap criticism on me. "Oh my God, you really can't judge a book by its cover. Why would someone with such good grades do something like this? For 300,000, you don't even want your dignity anymore. You must be crazy for money. Poor school beauty and golden boy. Running into someone like this is just terrible luck. People like this should be expelled." My phone was blown up with all kinds of insulting texts and calls flooding in. My mom also called crying as she begged me. "Chloe, forget it. We can't beat them. Listen to mom and go apologize. We don't want the money anymore. Can you just go back to school and study properly?" Public opinion attack initiated. Intensity moderate. Impact scope within the school and local online networks. Analysis. The enemy is attempting to use moral coercion and public pressure to force our side to abandon its demands. Countermeasure launched the evidence chain counterattack plan. I hung up on my mom and put my phone on silent. Then I sent an encrypted file to Aunt Eleanor. "Aunt Eleanor, you can begin now." "Got it," Aunt Eleanor replied instantly, "just wait and watch the show." Half an hour later, the official Twitter X account of Taylor Solicitors published a long article. The title was Public Disclosure of the Facts and Evidence in the Case Involving Miss Chloe Taylor, whom our firm represents on intentional injury and defamation of reputation. The article carried no emotion, merely listing the evidence calmly. First piece of evidence, an official medical report issued by a major municipal NHS trust hospital bearing its official seal. It clearly states in black and white, a minor fracture of the nasal bridge, multiple soft tissue contusions on the face, and a mild concussion. Attached below are high-definition photos I took at the hospital after the injury. Showing my face covered in blood and my swollen nose, the photo of Sophia's red cheeks was more than 100 times more striking. The second piece of evidence, a surveillance video that had been technically processed to remove background noise. The video was short, only 15 seconds long, but it clearly recorded Sophia crying and Jack walking up to me to question me. Then, without any warning, he grabbed the basketball and smashed it into my face with all his might. Throughout the entire process, I made no provocative remarks and no unnecessary movements. The third piece of evidence, screenshots of 3 months of WhatsApp chat records between Sophia and me. From the first time she cautiously asked me about an academic problem to later taking it for granted that I would help her highlight the key syllabus points and make a revision plan. Every time my answers were patient and detailed, this directly shattered the lies that I was jealous of her and I stole her notes. Item 4 of the evidence and audio recording. It was the recording from yesterday in the conference room when Richard Davies threatened me, saying, "I'll make sure you can't even go to school." These 4 pieces of evidence were like 4 heavy bombs dropped into what had originally been an overwhelmingly one-sided public opinion field. After the long post was published, it was reposted by major regional news and information bloggers in less than 10 minutes. The tide turned in an instant. Holy crap, what a reversal. The basketball hit her right in the face. Is he trying to cause serious harm? Oh my God, these chat logs. Sophia is way too much of a manipulative hypocrite, treating someone like a free tutor and then stabbing them in the back. That dad is even worse. His son hit someone and he is still this arrogant, directly threatening to expel her. What is this? The mafia. Those who used to criticize Chloe, does your face hurt? This is the real victim of school bullying. Number N school bullying. Number this must trend. The perpetrators must be severely punished. The flames of public opinion burning 10 times more fiercely than before were directed at Jack and Sophia. The name and corporate address of Richard Davies' firm, as well as the workplaces of Sophia's parents, were all dug up by angry netizens. The school's official phone lines and the local education authorities' hotline were brought to a standstill. I looked at the comments constantly refreshing on the computer screen. My expression unchanged. Richard Davies, don't you like using money and power to solve problems? Sophia, don't you like playing the victim to win sympathy? Jack, don't you think violence can override everything? Now, I'm giving you back the very thing you're best at. I've moved the battlefield from the conference room to right before everyone's eyes in this trial called justice. You are the ones who are guilty. Ding. In my mind, the system's voice sounded again. Phase mission public opinion reversal completed. Evaluation. Perfect. Reward. Unlock the logic trap skill. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, but the caller ID showed the head teacher's office. I answered. On the other end of the line was Headmaster Gao's voice, almost pleading, "Student Chloe Taylor, are you free right now? Can we talk again? Okay, we can agree to all of your terms. We can agree to them all." I did not immediately agree to the head teacher's request. "Headmaster, this is not the time to talk." My voice passed through the electricity, as calm as a block of ice. The online public opinion was not guided by me. It was Jack's family's actions that provoked public outrage. It takes the one who tied the knot to untie it. You should go to them. I did. How could I not have looked for them? The head teacher's voice sounded on the verge of tears. Richard Davies' phone is practically blown up, and a crowd of local reporters is blocking the corporate entrance. He's begging me now, asking me to find you and talk about a settlement. Chloe, I'm begging you as your teacher. Please give him a chance. Okay, if this keeps going, our school's century-old reputation will be ruined. What does that have to do with me? Reputation is built on facts and fairness. I paused for a moment and activated the newly unlocked logical trap skill. Headmaster, as the head of the school, your attitude at yesterday's mediation meeting was to punish both sides equally and smooth things over. This in itself is indulgence toward the perpetrator and a second injury to the victim. Do you think your handling of the matter yesterday protected the school's reputation? There was silence on the other end of the line. I can imagine how embarrassed he must be at this moment. So, this is not a matter of whether I am giving an opportunity or not. It's a question of whether the school, the Davies family, and the Vance family are willing to give fairness a chance. I set the tone for this conversation. The initiative must be firmly in my hands. Here's what we'll do, sir. Tomorrow at 10:00 the morning, in yesterday's conference room, I hope to see a solution that satisfies me. If I do not, my solicitor will file a lawsuit directly with the court, and I will also use my real name to report to the Department for Education that the Academy engaged in inaction and cover-ups in handling a severe campus violence incident. With that, I hung up the phone. I have no sense of joy at victory because I knew this was only winning back one round. The real battle is tomorrow. Aunt Eleanor called soon after. Nicely done. What you just said was flawless. You made your tough stance clear while also giving the other side a way to back down. Their only choice now is to surrender completely. Will they be willing to? I asked. No, Aunt Eleanor smiled. Especially people like Richard Davies, who values saving face above all else. He'll come tomorrow, but he'll definitely try to bargain. And he may even resort to some underhanded tactics, for example. They may try to play the sympathy card or try to dig up your faults. I have no faults. I know, Aunt Eleanor's tone turned serious, but they'll try to create one. Chloe, remember, tomorrow at the venue, no matter what they say or do, don't get angry. And don't let your emotions get the better of you. The calmer you are, the more impatient they become, and the more likely they are to make mistakes. Leave everything to me. All you need to do is make your final decision at the most critical moment. I understand. After hanging up the phone, I looked out at the night outside the window. The city was brightly lit like a giant net. I, Jack, Sophia, each and every one of us are all caught in this web. Some want to break free while others want to pull everyone else in. And I am going to be the one who weaves the web. The next day I walked into conference room No. 3, again. The atmosphere was completely different from yesterday. The arrogance on Richard Davies' face was gone, replaced by deep exhaustion and resentment. The dark circles under his eyes were heavy, clearly from not sleeping all night. Jack's mother was no longer crying or making a fuss. She just sat there silently, her eyes empty. Jack hung his head like a defeated rooster. Sophia and her mother shrank even further into the corner, wishing they could turn themselves into invisible people. As soon as the head teacher and Mr. Jenkins saw me, they immediately forced out warm smiles, hastily offering tea and giving up their seats. "Chloe, you're here. Come on, have a seat." I nodded and sat down with Aunt Eleanor in the main seats. This time we were the judges. "All right, everyone." Aunt Eleanor opened her briefcase and got straight to the point. "Time is precious, so let's get right to the point regarding the 3 requests we have put forward. Mr. Davies, Miss Vance, and the school authorities, what is your response?" Richard Davies took a deep breath as if suppressing a massive surge of anger. He looked at me, his voice hoarse. "Chloe Taylor. Leave some room for others so you can meet again in the future. I admit that my son was wrong to have struck first. £300,000. I'll pay it and Jack will apologize, but expelling him from school, isn't that going too far? He's still just a child. Are you trying to ruin his whole life?" He started appealing to emotions. I said nothing and looked at Aunt Eleanor. Aunt Eleanor pushed up her glasses. "Mr. Davies, before the law, there is no such thing as a child once someone is over the age of criminal responsibility and near adulthood. They must bear full responsibility for their actions. Jack's behavior has already caused serious physical and psychological trauma to my client. Expulsion is the most basic administrative punishment. Richard Davies slammed the table but quickly sat back down weakly. At this moment, Sophia's mother, who had remained silent all along, suddenly spoke. "Chloe, Sophia didn't mean it either. She's just a simple, kind-hearted child praised by everyone since she was little. She's never really experienced any setbacks. She didn't do well on this exam, and in a moment of confusion, she said those things. Can't you forgive her just once?" Her voice was tinged with tears, sounding deeply sincere. If it had been the old me, I might have softened, but now my mind held only cold, hard data analysis. Logic trap activated. Detected that the other party is using a variant of the victim-blaming fallacy, the perpetrator innocence fallacy. Counterattack strategy. Reveal the nature of their behavior. Rather than getting entangled in motives, I finally lifted my eyes and looked directly at Sophia for the first time. "Miss Vance, you say she's innocent. Would an innocent person take credit for the academic tutoring I helped her with and turn it into her doing a favor for me? Would a simple person, when Jack was being violent toward me, say, 'Jack, don't. This has nothing to do with her,' so as to completely ignite his rage? Would a simple person, after I was beaten, immediately cooperate with the Davies family and take that kind of suggestive photo, then post it online to smear me?" With every question I asked, Sophia's face turned a shade paler. Her mother was speechless, too. She isn't naive. She's a refined egoist. She isn't thoughtless either. Every step she takes is calculated. She enjoys my help while envying my achievements. She uses Jack's impulsiveness to hurt me, then plays the innocent angel afterward. My voice was not loud, yet it was like a scalpel, precisely slicing open Sophia's hypocritical shell. Sophia suddenly raised her head, her eyes full of resentment. "I didn't. You're talking nonsense, Chloe. You're just jealous of me. You're jealous that everyone likes me. Jealous that Jack treats me well." At last, she tore off her disguise. "Really?" I smiled. I took out my phone and opened an audio recording. This was accidentally recorded half a month ago when I went to ask the physics teacher about a difficult question. In the recording, it was the conversation between Sophia and her friend. "That Chloe Taylor is such a bookworm. I just sweet-talked her a little and she gave me all the revision key points. Sophia, you're amazing. Jack is completely head over heels for you. Of course, someone like Jack is simple-minded and athletic. He's the easiest to control. Once I finish the A-levels and get my university firm choice, I'll dump him. His family may be rich, but I can't stand the nouveau rich act his dad puts on. The recording playback ended. The conference room fell into a deathly silence. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Sophia's bloodless face. Jack suddenly turned his head and looked at her in disbelief. "Sophia, you." Richard Davies' expression darkened even further, black as the bottom of a pot. His family background, the thing he had always been most proud of, had actually been dismissed by a little girl his son held dear in the palm of his hand as nouveau rich. This was even more humiliating than being slapped in the face. Sophia completely broke down. "No, it's not like that, Jack. Listen to my explanation." "That's enough." Richard Davies roared, cutting her off. He stood up and looked down at Sophia and her mother, his eyes icy. "The apology letter, prepare it yourselves. Our family's affairs have nothing to do with you anymore." After speaking, he turned to me, his expression complicated. "Classmate Chloe Taylor, we lost." He seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. "Your terms, we agree to all of them. The £300,000 will be transferred to your solicitor's account this afternoon. Expulsion from school, I'll go speak to the head teacher myself." He looked at his own son, and for the first time, there was deep disappointment in his eyes. "Jack, pack your things and get out of here. Go home. Everything's settled." Jack was expelled. On Monday's school assembly, Sophia read out a long public apology letter in front of the entire school, teachers and students alike. Her voice trembled and she broke down in tears. But in the eyes of the audience below, there was no longer any sympathy, only contempt and mockery. After deducting the legal fees from the £300,000 compensation, £150,000 remained and was deposited into my card. My mom stared at that long string of numbers, so excited she didn't know what to do with herself. "Chloe. This much money. Mom, this is what they owe me." I handed her the card. "Use this money to renovate our old house. As for the rest, do whatever you want with it." My mom cried, holding me, unable to say a word. I knew that from this moment on, my position in this family had completely changed. I was no longer the daughter who had to be obedient and endure everything. I became the backbone of this family. School life returned to normal, but it was a little different. No one dared to point fingers behind my back anymore. The way my classmates looked at me changed from pity to awe. I was still in first place and by a landslide, leaving the second-place student far behind. As expected, I became the area's top scorer in the final exams. When filling out my university applications, I chose the country's best law school in London. After Aunt Eleanor found out, she specially treated me to a meal. "I knew it. You were born for this. Come and intern at my firm later, and I'll personally mentor you." Smiling, I raised my glass. "Then I'll be counting on you to guide me from now on, Aunt Eleanor." Before university started, I used the money I had left to sign up for a martial arts and boxing club. I don't want to experience again the feeling of being powerless in the face of violence. Both body and mind must be strong. That day I was practicing boxing at the club when an unexpected person found me. It was Jack Davies. He had lost a lot of weight and looked exhausted. Gone was his former arrogance. His eyes held a look of utter dejection after he was expelled. His father was sending him to a distant international college abroad just to get a basic diploma. I'm leaving next week." He stood beside the punching bag, his voice low. "Before I go, I wanted to say I'm sorry." I stopped and took off my boxing gloves. "I accept your apology." He seemed not to have expected me to be so straightforward and froze for a moment. "You don't hate me, hate?" I shook my head. "Jack, you're no longer important to me. I don't have the time or the energy to hate someone who has nothing to do with my life." My calmness seemed to make him feel worse than any insult could. A bitter look appeared on his face. "I used to be such a jerk." "Yes." I did not deny it. He was silent for a long time, then took a small box out of his pocket. "This. I was originally going to give this to you on your birthday." I opened it, and inside was a very beautiful silver necklace. It was the exact style I had looked at many times from outside the designer shop window. "No need." I handed the box back to him. Seeing my expression, he did not insist further, silently taking the box back. Chloe Taylor. He looked at me one last time, his expression complicated. You have really changed a lot. People always change. I put my gloves back on, turned around, and faced the punching bag. Bang! A straight punch, crisp and clean. He watched my back for a long time, then turned and left. I didn't look back. Everything from the past, like this punching bag, was completely shattered by my punches. One after another, my life was just beginning. In my mind, that cold mechanical voice had not sounded for a long time. I even found myself missing it a little. Host, you no longer need me. As if it had heard my thoughts, it suddenly spoke. I was stunned. What do you mean? The absolute rationality system does not come from the outside. It originates from the self-suppressed deep within your heart. Every act of endurance, every concession was gathering strength for this moment. That strike from Jack did not activate me, it shattered your shackles and released the real you. I am you. You are me. Congratulations, Chloe Taylor. You have learned how to fight for yourself. The novice task has been completed and the system is about to enter sleep mode. I wish you a bright future. The cold voice gradually faded away. I stood there for a very, very long time. So that's how it is. The only one who could save me from beginning to end was myself. I laughed, facing the club's bright mirror, revealing a heartfelt, radiant smile. Goodbye, my past self. Hello, my future self.